Hello friends, let us continue with the noise pollution. The last topic which we have discussed was air pollution, chapter 16. So in continuation to that, let us study the noise pollution. Now, noise is defined as an undesirable high level of sound. In 1987, the act was passed along with the 1981 act, that was Air Prevention and Control of Pollution. So along with that, this was passed, and noise was considered as a pollutant. What are the causes of noise? We all know that loudspeakers, music system, TV, which are all used for entertainment purpose, jet planes and rockets, they release a very high or more sound, more than 150 Dobson unit. Then we have industrial noises, social functions, crackers. These all are different agents which cause noise pollution. What are the harmful effects? It has both psychological and physiological also. People get sleeplessness, they can't sleep properly. Most of the people, they get stress. Some of the people, we have seen that they get hypertension, heartbeat get increased, breathing problems, damage to the eardrums. That is, quite a big problem because it can cause to the hearing ability disorders. Then gastric issues are obviously there, nausea, emotional disturbances. So overall, if you see, there are many effects in the human body or to the living organism. Now, control methods. Industrial noise, if you talk, it can be reduced by using the sound absorbent material or by muffling noise. So there are some materials which can be used so the noise from the industries get lowered. Then de-elimination of the horn-free zones in near hospitals or school. I have seen one very good thing, that when you visit Himachal Pradesh, and when you go to the Shimla, Manali on the roads through bus, you will see that they have strict prohibition on noise. They are very much close to the nature. They don't want to disturb the birds, animals, and the plants and every living organism. So that is a very good move. So that can be done. Then we can follow the strict laws which our government has been asking us to follow, especially when there is some festivals and crackers and loudspeakers are being used. So that is again one thing. Then setting time after the loudspeakers, which we always have some festivals, loudspeakers are allowed only for particular time or particular range of time, but then people follow, people don't follow. So that is again there. So these are all the control methods. Very short topic, noise pollution. It can be asked for 1 or 2 marks, not more than that. Let us come to the water pollution. Now this is very interesting, very important. Water pollution is defined as, again, any undesirable change in the physical, chemical and biological properties of water that may affect human being and even the domestic species. Now, the government of India has passed again the same Water Prevention and Control Pollution Act in 1974 to safeguard the water resources. Now, if somebody asks what are the water resources, so we have rivers, we have wells, we have canals, we have dams. These all are different, and even underground waters. Even the rain harvested waters are also used nowadays. Other than that, the source of the water pollution and its effect on the living organism. If somebody asks what is the source and what are the effects on its living organism, so if you see that water pollutants can be from the domestic sewage, agriculture waste or agriculture runoff, and industrial waste. So if I talk of the domestic sewage, 0.1% impurities are present, and it can be either in form of suspended solids, either in form of colloidal materials, either in form of dissolved materials. This all are the chemistry terminology, you might have already heard about it. If you talk of suspended solids, so you can say sand, slate and clay. If you talk of colloidal material, it can be fecal matter, bacteria, cloth, paper fibers. And if you talk of dissolved material, it can be any nutrients, maybe nitrates, ammonia, sulfate, phosphates, sodium, calcium, any of them. Then if you talk of the agriculture waste or agriculture runoff, We use fertilizers, we use pesticides. So pesticide residues and agricultural fertilizer residues, these are major pollutants. If you talk of the industrial waste, either it can be a chemical pollutant, either it can be a physical pollutant. So if you talk of the chemical, it can be organic, it can be inorganic. If you talk of organic, then it can be phenol, some dyes, so many chemicals are there. If you talk of inorganic compounds, it can be heavy metals, Pb, Cd, Hg, Cu, copper, lead. So many heavy metals can be causing a lot of damage to the living organism. But if you talk of the physical pollutants, it can be wastewater, thermal wastewater, it can be oil spills, which is very difficult to solve the issues, especially when the oils from the oceans or seas, when they are taking off and if there is a leakage, many of the fishes get died. So that is one thing. Now, if you talk of the domestic sewage, let us come into the detailed part of the domestic sewage, where it comes from every residential area to the common public sewage system. So that is one thing. Domestic sewage contains suspended solid, as I have discussed, which contains sand, slate and clay. Again, it contains colloidal material, which contains fecal matters, bacteria, cloth, paper fibers. Then it contains dissolved materials like nitrate, ammonia, phosphate, sodium, calcium, any of the salts. Domestic sewage mainly contain biodegradable organic waste, which are readily decomposed with help of the decomposers, that is bacteria and fungus. It is possible to eliminate the amount of the organic matter in the sewage by measuring biological oxygen demand. Now this is a new term, you might have studied in class 10th, I don't know, but biological oxygen demand, BOD, we are going to see in the next part of, maybe in this video or you will see in the next video, BOD in detail. So we'll see what is BOD. So that is one thing. Then if you talk of the industrial waste, I have said fertilizer residues or either pesticides residues are there. So industries, especially like petroleum, paper manufacturing, metal extraction, then this all industry, big industries, they release waste which contain heavy metals like mercury and many other organic compounds. Now mercury and DDT, they are well known biomagnificent or biomagnification. Now this is very important term, and you should know the definition as well as the topic of the biomagnification should be clear. Now let us see what is biological or biological biomagnification, either of them. Biological magnification, if somebody says biomagnification, both are same. So it is defined as an increase in concentration of toxicants at successive tropic levels of food chain. So you know the food chain, right? Now these chemicals, they get increased in every tropic level. So if a small insect consumes small amount of, say, toxic chemical, but a big insect consumes a small insect in hundreds, so number of toxic chemicals go to that big insect. Now that big insect is again taken by one of the big organism in hundreds, so the number of the toxic again get 100 times higher, and slowly this tropic level has increases, the biomagnification occurs, and that is called biological or biomagnification of the chemicals, especially DDT or mercury. Now why DDT or mercury? See, these are the chemicals which cannot be biodegradable, which cannot be broken down, which cannot be metabolized, which cannot be processed further. You cannot do anything of this. So once this chemical enters the living organism, it stays in that living organism and start deteriorating that living organism, or you can say affecting or killing that living organism slowly and slowly. I'll give you one very good example. Say there is a small pond, and I'm taking some pinch of say DDT powder and just I'm putting into that pond. So very small insects, because they suck the water, as particles of this powder definitely along with the water goes in their mouth, and they digest, or they not digest but they take in their mouth. Okay, a small fish takes 100 of small insect. So what you can say, if one insect was taking one particle, now this fish is taking 100 insects, so 100 particles are going in that fish. Now a little larger fish, it's 100 of such small fish, so you can multiply 100 particles along with the 100 particles, so the particle number increases, and as it goes higher tropic level, say larger fish, it's such kind of smaller fish, saying hundreds or thousands. So what happened? The concentration get increased. So the thing is, the toxic substance, because it cannot be metabolized or excreted, it is just from one organism to another, they get accumulate in the organism and they pass on to the higher tropic level. So what are the effects of this DDT which get accumulated in the body? If you see, calcium metabolism in birds is disturbed, and because of that, the eggshell, it gets thin instead of thick, and because it gets thin, it can be easily broken, and premature breaking occurs normally, which leads to decline in the bird population. See how it affects. So first thing is calcium metabolism is disturbed. It leads to thinning of the eggshell, which leads to the premature death or breaking of the egg, and then it declines the bird population. So one of the example what is having effect of DDT. So that is biological magnification effects of DDT, and you have to just give an example which I have given. Take a small insect in a pond, they are taking some particles of some ppm, parts per million, you can say any of them, and then it is going from one tropic level to another, and the number of getting increase. Okay, so that is about the water pollution. Continuing with the same topic but little different, let us come to eutrophication. Now when you say eutrophication, it is the definition which says that it's aging of lake by biological enrichment of water. So natural aging occurs in a lake. What exactly it means? See, if you see a very new lake, very young lake, the water is very cold and very clear, which supports life. But with time, it is enriched with nutrients, because the people used to throw garbages and foods and waste over foods and everything in the pond. So what happened? The nutrients are added to the pond, especially nitrogen, phosphorus, and they support the organism, small plants and small insects, small animal life. Fine. Now organic remain deposit at the bottom of the lake, and with the time it makes the water warmer and shallower. So organic remain deposit at the bottom, it is making the water more warmer and shallower. So marsh plants take the root in the shallow, and they begin to fill in the the original lake basin. Eventually floating plants they develop, and then they finally cover the whole land. And according to the climate or the size of the lake and the other factors, natural aging of lake may span up to thousands of years. So the accelerated aging of lake due to the sewage, agriculture and industrial waste is called cultural or accelerated eutrophication. So if somebody asks what is accelerated or what is cultural, like, you can say that because of industrial, sewage, and agriculture waste dumped into these young lakes, there is increase, or the speed of the aging increase, and thus it is called accelerated eutrophication. Now, what are the contaminants? The main contaminants are nitrates, phosphate, because plant nutrient required. This cause actually unpleasant odor and smell nearby that pond. Now, which depletes the amount of dissolved oxygen also. Slowly and slowly the pure oxygen goes down, the dissolved oxygen goes down. Another pollutant also poison the fish, whose decomposing remains further depletes the dissolved oxygen, and thus it choke a lake to the death. So there is no lake, it becomes a clear lake. Thermal wastewater flowing out of electricity generating units like thermal plants also act as a pollutant. What are the effects? If you see the effects, eliminate or reduce matter or number of organisms sensitive to high temperature. Then you have enhanced growth of plants and fish in extremely cold rates. It causes damage to the indigenous flora and fauna, flowers and plants basically, and animals. So that is one thing. So eutrophication, accelerated eutrophication, culture eutrophication, the prime contaminants you should remember. Definitely it can be asked for 1 mark. Now I will come back to the topic called BOD. Let us see what is BOD, because you should understand the topic BOD, biological oxygen demand. Now, the amount of oxygen required by microbes to degrade in any organic matter is called biological oxygen demand. The amount of oxygen required by any organism to degrade any organic matter. Suppose if I require some amount of oxygen to degrade the organic matter, so that means organic matter is less, so I require only some. But if I require high oxygen, that means the organic matter is big. So higher the organic matter, more BOD, and if more BOD means the water is more polluted, because it is mixed with the organic matter is mixed with the water. So if somebody asks if BOD is very high, then water is good or bad? Now you know the answer. So higher the BOD, more the polluted, less for the drinking or other use purpose. Higher the BOD, more the pollution. Microorganisms use lot of oxygen of degradation of organic matter, and thus in this sharp decline is found in the dissolved oxygen downstream from the point of the sewage discharge, and this causes mortality of fish and other aquatic life. You can see in a diagram which is given in your textbook. I will share that diagram also. That if you see the sewage discharge from the bottom, if you can see that the BOD is very less. The dissolved oxygen is very less, and BOD is very high. But as it moves on the other side, the direction of flow, if you see, more and more dissolved oxygen is getting and BOD is getting reduced. That means the water is getting pure. The organisms are eating all the organic matter and making water pure. I won't say pure, but better. You can see it can be used for agriculture purpose, not for drinking purpose as such. So that is one thing. Now let us see algal bloom, one of the topic before we go with the another. Algal bloom is, see, when we have domestic sewage that contains nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus, which favors excessive growth of planktonic, that is the free floating algae. That process, or that is called algal bloom, which cause fish mortality. It also causes the deterioration of the water quality. Some algae are toxic to humans and animals both. You might have heard water hyacinth, Econeria, that is world most problematic aquatic weed, which we called as terror of Bengal, which grows abundantly in the eutrophic bodies, water bodies, and it imbalance the water ecosystem. Equinoria, there is one other one. This equinoria, they were brought from, I think, somewhere, not in India. It was not in India, but they were brought for because of their flowers or something, but then it is causing big problem now. So equinoria was introduced to India because of the flowers, but now it is a big issue for removal from every pond or every lake. So that is all about the algal bloom. I will share the diagram of BOD, that you have to see it, and you can just compare it what exactly is the BOD. Tomorrow or the other lecture, we will see about the integrated waste management, solid waste, and then we'll see soil pollution, radioactive, ozone, and definitely we will see the deforestation and other topics related to that. If you have any doubt, you can ask me, and please see two diagrams. One is the DDT and the another one is the BOD. If you have any query, please do comment and ask me the doubts. Thank you.